One thing that isn't on the slides is a concept that I don't know how to put it on a slide. And that's the concept of trust. And how do you put trust on a slide? I don't know. But as we go through these next few years, as both sides of that aisle, traditional enterprise and tech, know that they need to work together, right? You need to have partners. What does it come down to? Trust. Now, a lot of the folks in this room that come from the traditional side, the distribution side of the industry, you have figured out over many, many years and decades how to discern if someone is trustworthy, if a company is trustworthy. But in this new digital thing, it's different, right? What are the cues? What are the things that you should be looking for? What are those indicators that could help inform your opinion of that, right? Because actions speak louder than words, after all. So I'm going to kind of give you basically my view, right? What do I look at? What are the things I look at? What do I see happening? And hopefully that helps to inform all of you in how you go about thinking about how you navigate these new digital opportunities. This is a fun slide. Basically, this is actually the largest industry in the United States, just no one really knows about it. All of B2B distribution, that is. $8 trillion in size, pretty big. If you look at where VC investment and all this stuff is going, it's actually not in companies that are friendly to distribution. It's actually on that top 50 B2B marketplace list, the people that want to disrupt distribution. This is, one example of where kind of distribution's just getting squeezed on all sides. You got your tech monopolies coming in, or your Home Depots coming in, right? You got your large kind of tech-enabled aggressors, Home Depots, Amazons. And then we're going to talk about another dynamic, which is what are suppliers doing to distribution? Point is, distribution, next few years are going to be very important for distribution, and your customers are using a bunch of different software. And if you look at the progression of e-procurement for the past 20 years, e-procurement was kind of a thing that ERPs did, and that's really where it started. And then if you look at, in the past, I'd say 10 or so years, you've really seen this middle bucket come into the foray, which are companies providing not necessarily e-procurement, but software tools to smaller companies, SMEs. So now what you see is a lot of these software tools say, hey, I have visibility into what this customer is stocking, and they buy a lot of supplies. So why don't we help them in the procurement of those supplies? Hence the name e-procurement. And that is a massive Trojan horse. It's been a Trojan horse that's basically been burrowing in for the past 10 plus years. But that SaaS to e-procurement to marketplace evolution, it's probably the biggest thing I see going on in B2B distribution, frankly. Another deal, Ferguson, they actually have a proper VC fund, like a institutionalized VC fund, and they made an investment just recently into this company called Bluon. And Bluon's very interesting. Bluon is a tool for trade contractors, particularly in HVAC. And Ferguson wants to be the center of the universe, right? Like, they don't want you buying Ferguson stuff in someone else's experience. They want you going to build.com, right, or something like that. So this was a really groundbreaking deal for them to do, where they're actually now enabling Bluon to do e-procurement on Ferguson's catalog. Not something that you would normally see Ferguson doing, right? But you're just now seeing the power of these SaaS tools, software tools in the hands of your customer, and saying, I got to go there. The customer wants to buy in that integrated experience. What am I going to do? Tell my customer no? Let's go back to the thing about trust. So, when you see a gold rush, how are you going to go after the gold rush? Who's going to go after it more collaboratively? And who's going to go after it less collaboratively? Well, here would be some things that I would look at. So let's talk about Schneider. All the different value streams and value props of the distributors slowly are getting chipped away and chipped away. And that means that you still maybe have the product in your warehouse, but are you actually selling the product to the customer? No, it's going through Rent-A-Run. Are you actually setting the price of what Rent-A-Run is pricing it? No, it's coming from the supplier. Is the supplier then saying, hey, distributor, Rent-A-Run's going to come pick up this product. I've already sold it. Don't worry. I know you have it. But, we'll rebate you. We'll do it in the rebate thing, right? Like, you'll get some money. They're going to be there in like 2 hours. Is that cool? Kojo. If I'm taking money from a supplier and I'm Kojo, and Kojo's trying to go sign up a bunch of distributors and saying, hey, distributors, I want you to integrate into Kojo because I've got a bunch of trade contractors that are already working with you, distributor. I want you to sign up. I want you to integrate because it's not me, the customer, the trade contractor wants this to happen. And now the trade contractors are calling up the distributor and saying, distributor, what are you doing? I can't do this through email. You got to integrate into Kojo. But you can now see, right, about how the presence of suppliers in these things should be raising a lot of questions. And if I'm a distributor, I don't know. So if I'm Kojo, what do I ultimately want to be able to do? If their whole thing in their press release is I'm doing $1 billion in GMV, that's the thing they're really riding high on, they're trying to bake that into their valuation, they want to get more supplier participation. And if they're going to get more supplier participation, who does that come at the cost of? Last one is Enable. What is Enable doing? Rebate management, spas. Pricing. Probably one of, if not the most sensitive thing to a distributor. How are you pricing your stuff? For each customer. What if Enable was to help plug into these two other companies? Do you think they could collaborate, and help connect the pricing and the rebate and help bring the distributor and kind of that supplier direct type of model? Do you think this is something that could start to happen? I don't know. I'm just saying, if I look at where this stuff is heading, these things would cause for me definitely some heartburn. When you look at these tech startups and who they're raising money from, now let's go think about the earlier slides. The earlier slides talking about Ferguson putting money into Blue On. Same kind of model here, right? Like Kojo, Blue On, similar but different. For me, I would much more so trust, if I'm a distributor, much more so trust the tech company that has raised money, even if I'm in HVAC, I would still much more so trust Blue On versus if Blue On had raised from, a large HVAC supplier that is making not one but multiple investments in things that are disintermediating me, the distributor, from my customer relationship. So that's a little bit about how I think about it. The other thing is, when these companies raise all this money, who's on the board? What kind of governance do you have, right? So if Schneider was to put in money, but let's say take a board seat, have some governance, kind of say, we don't want, for example, Amazon Business to come and buy these companies, right? We don't want a large tech monopoly. We don't want Home Depot. We're just trying to do this because we don't want large tech companies to come in and get involved in these companies because they could be very disruptive, right? There are ways that you could be deploying money as a supplier, but doing it in a way that starts to alleviate some of these concerns for distribution. I have not seen those signals. I have not seen a desire to try to quell those fears or answer those questions in any kind of proactive manner. Which, again, that's not my prerogative, it's not their prerogative, that's their decision. The people running this VC fund are very smart, and the way they make their money is to have these tech companies get big exits and get big acquisitions, right? That's how, if I'm a fund manager and I have a $500 million fund, that's how I make my money. I want these investments to blow up no matter what the cost, because that's why I'm a VC. And that's what you've seen historically in this space, is VC is investing in companies that are trying to disrupt, and disrupt with somewhat little disregard for what happens.